Hello everyone, my name is Corbin and this is Plant Basics. In this episode, I'm going to show you how to care for your coconut palm as an indoor plant. So stay tuned. So ever since I was a child, I was always fascinated by coconuts and by coconut palms. And I always wanted to grow a coconut as a houseplant, but I just couldn't find any. It just was not something that was readily available. And on top of that, the coconuts that were usually sold at the grocery store were the de-husked coconuts that look like this. And I always believed that you needed to have an intact coconut in order to sprout it to grow. So it wasn't even until I think last year when I watched another video on how to sprout your own coconut from a de-husked coconut that I was like, oh my god, I can do this, right? And that's why I also made my own video on how to sprout a coconut, which I will link up above. And so I've done this probably about 5 times now, and I've had 100% success rate using that method. So coconut palms to me, when grown as an indoor plant like this, are real conversation starters because everybody always asks me, oh, what is this? And then I'm like, it's my own coconut that I grew from seed, you know? And it's a really rewarding process, and they're also relatively easy to care for because their care is similar to other indoor palms. The only difference I'd say is when it comes to light, because they are able to tolerate a higher light threshold than for example other palms, which makes them ideal for those like bright indoor spaces where perhaps a parlor palm might burn because of the high light and the direct sunlight. So that would really be my first step when growing your coconut farm, is to give it lots of light. The other thing I would say is that you want to keep your palm nice and moist, but remember, it is okay for it to dry out because as long as it still has the coconut, attached to it, it means that it's still feeding from here, which is helping this plant to grow, because that is really the point of a coconut, because when you see coconuts in the natural habitat, you'll often see how they fall in the sea and they float around. And in the South Pacific, that is how they managed to populate all the different islands, is by floating, and then the seed germinates as soon as it reaches a beach. And so that is really the point of it, is to feed the new palm. And so you want to keep your palm nice and moist, but remember it's okay for it to dry out. You don't want to overwater your plant or allow the pot to really stand in any water, because that can lead to root rot in your palm. My next step is that coconut palms are really true tropicals. And in all the research that I've done, it seems to me that they are not in any way tolerant of cold temperatures. And that's why I like use the word true tropical, because with a lot of other tropical plants like monsteras and certain philodendrons and anthuriums, I can still grow them outside on my balcony even in winter, which really does get cold. But if you think about coconut palms, they all grow on these tropical islands and close to the coast. And that means that have never really exposed to low temperatures. That is something to think about. So if you live in a temperate climate or even a warmer climate like me, you might not be able to move your palm outside permanently if it outgrows its allotted indoor space. That is something to think about. But luckily I found that they are slow growing when you have them in a pot. They do tend to obviously, take a lot longer to reach like a good size. So the other thing I want to talk about is pests. So like all palms, one thing that you are going to have to look out for is mealybug and scale. Because I found that palms are really prone to the host to pests. And the other thing is that we also have to think about is spider mites, especially when grown, Alex, especially when grown in a indoor setting with low humidity. So spider mites could be an issue, but there are many ways to combat pest pressures on indoor plants. And one thing that I always like to say is that plants that are healthy and clean tend not to be bothered by pests as much as plants that are maybe unhealthy and full of dust. So that's something to think about, is the hygiene of your plant. So now I want to talk about humidity, and obviously, as you can suspect, the higher the humidity that you can give your palm, the better. But I will say this, that I have two palms that I grow in my kitchen windowsill, two coconut palms, and they do get full sun in the morning. And so during that time, I'm absolutely certain of the fact that the humidity must plummet. It must be in the low 30s, in the windowsill, and those two palms are fine. And also something I just want to say that I've noticed on another palm that I grew, which actually died, is if the coconut itself is in the windowsill, it gets direct sunlight, I found that they can overheat and start to produce like cracks, which is obviously not good if your palm is still too small and still really feeding, from the liquid in the coconut. So that's why I always position my coconuts like this with the window over here and not, a bit further away and shade it so it doesn't really overheat as much. You can also open the window, which will help with air movement and cool the plant down. I typically can't picture, otherwise, I would not be able to finish this video. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I hope that it has given you a lot to think about and that you will consider to adding a coconut palm to your indoor plant collection. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe to see more videos like these. I will see you in the next video. Bye. Right? We'll see them in the next video. Right? Yes. Yes, we will. We will see them in the next video. How do you think? Guys, I'll see you. Bye.